So one of the interesting or what I consider fascinating questions that physicists seem to ask themselves sometimes is, does the outside world exist when no one is observing it? And spoiler alert, before we get started, you're not going to come away from this talk with a definitive answer in either direction. And do not take your understanding of physics or quantum physics from truck drivers. So now that I've gotten that out of the way, why is it that they question whether reality exists as we understand it when no one is observing it? I think that is a fascinating question because it does appear that, first of all, nothing is truly objectively observable by us. When we look at things, when we hear, smell, taste, touch, when we engage our senses, when we cognize, what we're experiencing is the interpretation of reality that our brain has constructed for us based on some stimulus that we have received. Um, we have a tendency here in the West to think of the senses as being the five senses, the five sense doors. But in Buddhism, the mind is also considered a sense door. And if your mind is open to thinking of things that way, then the brain becomes an additional sense organ, and the mind becomes the stimulus that the brain cognizes, just like the eye is the organ that visual stimulus is processed by. Now, if you start with the basics of we don't have genuine access to objective reality, that everything is created within our brain, we next go to the concept that everything is actually rapidly vibrating electromagnetic spectra of some sort. The double slit experiment suggests that it's possible that everything exists in a wave state unless there is an observer. And I think it's only fair to point out that not everyone agrees on that. Neil deGrasse Tyson, someone who I admire greatly, doesn't agree with that theory, and he's stated so. Um, you know, Einstein himself said God does not play dice with the universe. On the other hand, there are a large number of respected members of the physics community that disagree with those guys. So, for the purpose of what we're talking about today, we're going to play dice with the universe. That means when you turn your head, the refrigerator behind me, is it still there? Maybe it's not. Maybe the background field of 0 point energy that the wave collapse emerges out of is always there, but without a conscious observer, it's only there as a potential. Now, that gives an opportunity or creates an opportunity for conceptualizing the concept of multiple universes in a way that, even if it's not completely accurate, and I think the truth about most concepts that we deal with is they're not completely accurate, but they're accurate enough metaphors for us to usefully engage with reality. What is a universe? One could say one definition of a universe is everything that is in existence. Okay, what is existence? Do things exist if no one is observing them? And if they do they exist as the observed items that we perceive them as, or do they exist as a field of potential? If they exist as a field of potential, even though the field itself may exist when you're not looking at it, those items that are collapsed out of the field don't exist if you're not looking at them. If the items in the background field don't exist if you're not looking at them, that means the only things that exist are the things that are being actively observed by some conscious being. And if things only exist if they are being observed by some conscious being, then if you're in a room alone, you're in your own universe by one way of understanding that. The only things that are relevantly in existence to you are those things around you that are within your field of influence or wave collapse. Universes can collide, multiple universes can collide, but if you think of it this way, oftentimes there is no reason to stress about or fix your attention on things that are no longer relevant to you, are no longer a part of your universe. You can shift universes constantly. You can alter your universe at will. The the trick is not learning how to do this. Obviously, if you're aware of anything physical around you, you are practicing wave collapse. The real trick is, how do you become aware of the process to the degree that you begin to consciously participate in the process?